Welcome to another episode of the Harvey Hour. My name is Stephen Harvey. It is a particularly warm evening here live in New York. We're going to get to the main show in about a half hour, but I think it is now time for the final top 10 quarterbacks, along with my final Nate's Notches. So let's get into the first segment of today's show, which is indeed my top 10 quarterbacks. Now, I had a very, very difficult time actually dissecting which quarterbacks should be in the top 10, but when it came down to how the season played out, and especially in Week 18, I think I have finally found my top 10 quarterbacks to end the season. So let's get right into it with number 10, Jared Goff. I know, it's a little bit weird to say that Jared Goff deserves to be in the top 10, but let's break it down. I have a list of reasons why, so let's break it down. First off, he led a top 5 scoring offense. And when it comes to the Lions, and you think they scored that many points, yeah, they did. And they probably would have been much better record-wise and maybe even in the playoffs if their defense wasn't ranked 32nd, a.k.a. dead last in the league. So he led a top 5 scoring offense. His passer rating was almost 100. It was 99.3. Very, very good. He was able to outplay Rodgers in the fourth quarter this past week, which we'll get into Aaron Rodgers and the entire shebang and a couple topics down the line here. And he was able to actually play well enough. The last 2 drives were phenomenal drives for Jared Goff. He actually played pretty well. He had over 4,000 passing yards. He kept it down with the turnovers. It was very similar to his 11-5 record and his 13-3 record when he was with the Los Angeles Rams in 2017 and 2018. So he's my number 10, Jared Goff. Number 9, Geno Smith. He's taken a little bit of a hit since I did it back in, was it week 12, I think? I may even have skipped week 12, maybe just gone to week 8. But Geno Smith, I think maybe he's in contention for comeback player of the year. He revitalized his career this past year. 4,300 passing yards, 70% completion percentage, led the league in that stat. And he actually played pretty well. And I think it was in large part due to an efficient run game. But you know what? He played better than who he got. He got better than Russell Wilson, who was traded out of Seattle. He played much better. I think, you know what, there's a chance he might have just played himself into a long-term deal with the Seahawks. Who knows? I'm not too sure with that. I'm not that confident, but with the effectiveness of Kenneth Walker, who could be a Rookie of the Year, I don't think so. I think it might go to Garrett Wilson. I don't think Brock Purdy, and we're going to get to him actually in a second, the next one. I don't think Brock Purdy played enough games to be considered for Offensive Rookie there, but Geno Smith might have played himself into a contract, and guess what? He's going to the playoffs too. He's able to beat Baker Mayfield, which isn't saying that much, but play himself into a potential contract and got his team into the playoffs. 1 year removed from Russell Wilson. Number 8, Brock Purdy. After hating on him, not really hating though, after being critical of Brock Purdy and getting absolutely obliterated in the comments by 49ers Nation out here, he deserves to be in the top 10. Because what he has done in the 6 games he's played, the 5 starts, he has a 5-0 record. Jimmy G started against the Miami Dolphins. They got the win in that game. I believe Jimmy G then gets credited for that win, but it was large part due to Brock Purdy's amazing efficiency with the 49ers. But he's 5-0 in his starting a starter, 67% completion percentage, extremely efficient, like I said, in Kyle Shanahan's offense. He's more mobile than Jimmy G, which makes the offense much more exciting. He's more accurate than Trey Lance, although we have to see how Trey Lance actually evolves. He got hurt. He has the least amount of experience in his draft class, so we'll see how, you know what, I think Brock Purdy has a serious shot at getting the starting job next year, but I will say this, because I was criticized by 49er Nation, I will say this, Brock Purdy does take more medium 10 to 19 yard throws. He attempts more, completes more than Jimmy G. But when I was getting criticized by saying that Brock Purdy takes more deep shots, that's actually incorrect. Brock Purdy takes about 7.6% of his throws are deep throws, 20 or more yards. That's what a deep throw is. When it comes to Jimmy G, it's only 9.1%, 1.5% higher. So he's attempting more deep throws. So that is where you got it wrong. I think the way the 49ers have played, and especially in the last game, although it was against a team right now that just fired their head coach in the Arizona Cardinals, I think Brock Purdy's played very efficient. And not only that, here's another thing, right? The addition of Christian McCaffrey, and that's not a knock on Brock Purdy, and that is not an excuse for Jimmy G. What Christian McCaffrey has done for this offense, for the 49ers offense, has been absolutely incredible, and especially in the past 6 games, right? The past 6 games that Brock Purdy's has played in, Christian McCaffrey's been phenomenal. The first game against the Chiefs, I think he was traded like 2 days before that game. So it was a surprise. They just did basic routes. They did a couple just simple inside runs, a couple outside runs, very simple stuff. But now Christian McCaffrey knows this offense. Brock Purdy is utilizing him very, very well, and it's shown. Although Brock Purdy, he hasn't really been asked to do that much. Let's be honest with each other. Because their running game, I said against, the Raiders, I said he got about 80 yards. Christian McCaffrey rushed for about 80 yards. I lowballed him. Christian McCaffrey actually got 120. Rushing yards. So they're running the ball much more effectively. Christian McCaffrey, honestly, if he stayed on the 49ers throughout this entire year, I would say give him a couple MVP votes. I think Justin Jefferson deserves a couple MVP votes, although I think Mahomes really will get it, and he actually truly deserves it. But hey, Brock Purdy's played very, very well, and he has actually a serious shot at getting to the Super Bowl. Let's be honest with each other. Number 7, Tom Brady. I know. Nate, you're rooting for Tom Brady. You're a Tom Brady fan. I've been critical of Tom Brady all year. And also, when I haven't been critical, I've at least been honest about the situation that Brady's been in. You know, his offensive line got banged up. He lost Alex Kappa and Ali Marpet. Tristan Wirfs was banged up. Donovan Smith is the most penalized player in the league. The thing that dropped off significantly since last year was red zone scoring. I believe they're close to dead last in red zone scoring. They were, I believe, second last year in red zone scoring. And that's in large part due to penalties. And also, you don't have Gronk. Gronk was a huge asset in the red zone here. So Brady actually has not played that poorly. Brady, 67% completion percentage, 4,700 yards. The touchdowns dropped. But also the interceptions dropped. He has the most completions and most attempts. I'm not even going to talk about that. He broke the records for those. That is what it is. And honestly, it's not that great of a stat. But they had no run game, so Brady had to do that. If they actually had a run game, and honestly, the Bucs haven't had a great run game. They've been bottom 10 every single year Brady's been there. So honestly, I'm taking a look here. Brady didn't have that bad of a year. It just wasn't as efficient as we would like to have seen. And because of the run game, we can't see Brady do that. But what I saw in the game against Carolina, there was something still there. He had much more pocket time. He was not as paranoid because he actually had about 2.5 seconds to throw the football. In that case, Brady will eat you up alive. So I'm going to put Brady at 7. He did not have that bad of a year. Him and Justin Herbert is on this list. He's actually next at number 6. They had very, very similar years, but we praise Justin Herbert. We criticize Tom Brady because Brady has put himself in a situation where if he has a year like this, he actually will be criticized. Same thing as Mahomes. Drop-off year, you're going to criticize him saying he's having a down year. That's not exactly the case. But number 6, Justin Herbert. I feel a little bit bad about putting him actually this low, but I think, if we get down to it, the next player, I think people will get mad at me for, but I'll explain why. 68% completion percentage, 4,700 yards. He did not have great games against, surprisingly, Jimmy G. He actually played worse than Jimmy G against that 49ers team. He also didn't play well against the Jacksonville Jaguars. That was a absolute blowout. They could not stop the run at all, and Justin Herbert did not look particularly good in that game. And he also did not play against the Raiders, who everyone hates on. The Raiders have a horrible passing defense. Did not look too good in that game. But in the 49ers game, he also didn't have Mike Williams and Keenan Allen, and that's actually in large part why I don't think he was as good as he might have been, because Keenan Allen got hurt. He was out some of the year. Mike Williams has always been banged up. Austin Eckler, they had the 30th ranked rushing attack in the league, and I think Austin Eckler's a great running back, but he's actually just a great fantasy running back. But I will take Justin Herbert at 6. He got into the playoffs. It's his first playoff series, so we'll see, and I actually have them winning. We're going to get to this on Friday when we make our picks. I have the Chargers actually winning this game against the Jaguars. I think there's going to be a little bit of redemption there from this past season. Number 5, Trevor Lawrence. It's weird. It's really weird what happens when you get such a great offensive-minded head coach and great play calling. Look at the transition between Urban Meyer, who he had a bunch of things wrong with him, into Doug Peterson, who basically changed Nick Foles into a Super Bowl MVP, out-coached Bill Belichick. Nick Foles got Super Bowl MVP. Nick Foles has a statue in front of the Eagles Stadium. And look at what he's done to Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence, since week 9, is statistically the best quarterback in the league. That's just what it is. It's been absolutely incredible what we've seen from Trevor Lawrence. I mean, he went out, beat the Titans, got himself into the playoffs. It's crazy what happens there. A tremendously high pass rating. Since week 9, 70% completion percentage, 15 touchdowns to 2 interceptions, 104.6 passer rating. What we've seen from Trevor Lawrence in the past, 8 weeks, has been absolutely incredible. So, and that's a credit to the offense getting going. You know, he got a brand new head coach at the start of the year, new system, had to learn it. It took some time. He had new receivers. It took some time for the Jaguars to really develop into a team. And I said early on that I was buying into them, and then I sort of saw the losing streak they were on. Like, I got really nervous about it, so I sold. I sold way too early. The way the Jaguars look right now, there's a chance they beat the Chargers. I just don't think they can. Still, though, Trevor Lawrence, great quarterback this year, number 5 in the quarterback tiers. Number 4, Jalen Hurts. If he didn't get hurt, I guarantee you he would still be in the MVP discussion. But what he's done, the transition from last year, the past 2 years, to what it is now is basically night and day. A.J. Brown, the effect that A.J. Brown had on Jalen Hurts is exactly the effect that we see with Josh Allen now. Josh Allen got Stephon Diggs in 2020, had like a 67% completion percentage, and since then he's been an absolutely incredible quarterback. But Hurts, almost 4,500 total yards, 35 total touchdowns, a 14-1 record, 66.5% completion percentage, and I would still think, like I said, he would be in the MVP discussion if he didn't get hurt. But that moves us on to number 3, which is the guy I just talked about, Josh Allen. He's dropped off a little bit because what's happened in the second half of the year, he's throwing a lot of red zone interceptions. I believe he leads the league in red zone interceptions, and that I think is because of Brian Daboll. He refined Josh Allen's game, and then he left to go to the Giants, and look what he's done to Daniel Jones, and look how Josh Allen has slightly regressed. It's not that noticeable except when you get in the red zone. He threw, I believe, a red zone interception against the Patriots last week. You know, it's not as refined of a game, but 4,200 yards, basically 4,300 yards, 4,283, 42 total touchdowns. He beat Mahomes, which is that's definitely a feat. Actually, the next 2 quarterbacks actually mentioned how they beat Mahomes. You know, he had a little bit of a problem against the Miami Dolphins, although Tua shouldn't even been in that game. But the red zone was a little bit of an issue. But the way Josh Allen has played, his legs are a huge asset. He's a big guy. A huge guy, can run very well. Josh Allen, the way he's been playing, absolutely incredible. He was at my number 1 spot, I think, for 2 or 3 straight top 10 lists. He has regressed a little bit, though, in the top 10 list just because these next 2 players have come alive. And the number 2 one is Joe Burrow. 68% completion percentage, almost 4,500 yards, 40 total touchdowns. He beat Mahomes for the 3rd straight time, only quarterback to do that. And I think the way he's come back from 0-2, statistically 11% chance to make the playoffs after starting 0-2. He's now part of that 11% chance. The Bengals are now part of that 11% chance. The offensive line improved slightly, but not even that much. Alex Kappa did his job. He's banged up, may not even play. I believe they have Lyle Collins. I think he got hurt. So the offensive line, it was still not great. It was okay, but Joe Burrow at number 2. I think he has a serious shot at repeating, getting back to the Super Bowl. He's my number 2 spot, but the guy who I thought opening the season, I think I had him at like my number 4 spot, maybe even lower, but well deserves the number 1 spot is indeed, or the number's wrong, but it is Patrick Mahomes. It should have been 1. Patrick Mahomes has been absolutely incredible this season. For some reason, I don't know why it says number 2. That's my bad. Patrick Mahomes has been absolutely incredible this season, the way he's been playing. He has, let's say, 67% completion percentage, 5,200 yards. He broke Drew Brees' record for most total yards in a season with 4,500 yards, I believe. His QBR is first in the league, 77.6 on a scale of 0 to 100. That's first. And he's done all this without Tyreek Hill. I thought, me and my dad both thought that without Tyreek Hill, there would be some serious regression in Patrick Mahomes' game, but that's just not the case. This is my top 10 list. We got Goff, Geno Smith, Brock Purdy, Tom Brady, Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence, Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, and Patrick Mahomes to round out the top 10. And now it's time for Nate's notches. I believe I have it should be the bottom of the tiers. Here we go. These are the teams that have a long road ahead of them. They have problems that need to get fixed. The Broncos fired their head coach. Offensive line needs work. They need a little bit of a better rushing defense and definitely better rushing attack. Javonte Williams getting hurt is a serious problem. We're going to get into the coaching issues later with Nathaniel Hackett getting fired. Who would be the best head coach for the Denver Broncos? But they have a long road ahead of them. I still think, first of all, Russell Wilson had a great game against the Chargers. He had a beautiful on-the-run throw to, I believe it was Jerry Jeudy. Tremendous throw, but I still think this is not a blip, and I will gladly take responsibility if next year with a Sean Payton or with a Jim Harbaugh or with whoever they decide to sign as their head coach, if he has a great season, I will take accountability and responsibility for being wrong about this. But I genuinely think that this is more of a regression and a little bit of a fall off and a continuation of what Russell Wilson will be, not a just simple blip saying, oh, this is just a bad season. The Commanders. Sam Howell started. Taylor Heineke started. Ron Rivera didn't even know they could be eliminated, so he started Carson Wentz. It's a whole situation. The defense definitely regressed. They were the number 2 defense 2 years ago, and then they just regressed over and over again due to injuries and just bad coaching. The offense, the receivers and part of the O-line, and especially the front 7 on the D-line, or the front 4 on the D-line, they've been really good. Curtis Samuel, Terry McLaurin, Dotson. These guys are all great talents. It's just they don't have a quarterback. The running game is somewhat inconsistent. The passing defense needs a little bit of improvement. The linebackers could use a little bit of an improvement. There's stuff you need to get done here that I think you may not have enough time, at least in the next season. You may need 2 drafts, or you can get really lucky in this draft, but I still think there's some growth needed to be done, and that quarterback position you need to fix. If Taylor Heineke started in that second to last game, I believe the Commanders would still be in playoff contention, and maybe in the playoffs right now, but Ron Rivera had a little bit of a blunder and didn't know he could be eliminated. But the Commanders definitely have a long road ahead. Lovie Smith for the Texans, I don't think should have been fired, and we're going to talk about this in a decent amount of topics later on with my dad here, but I don't think Lovie Smith should have gotten fired. What he did, there's passion. He tied the first game of the season. I thought there was a little bit of hope here. He played teams close. If it wasn't for a 98-yard drive by Dak Prescott, they would have beaten the Dallas Cowboys. This team had some passion to it. Davis Mills, who was really good his rookie season, and I thought was the second best rookie quarterback last year, which technically he was, it just seems like he's not their guy. And now, I guess Lovie Smith kind of knew that there's a little bit of a joke going around that Lovie Smith kind of knew that he's going to get fired, so he just said, screw, go for the 2-point. They drop out of the number 1 spot, but I think they're still going to probably get Bryce Young because every mock is saying they're going to get Bryce Young. I don't think the Bears will draft a quarterback here, but they could trade away that pick to someone who needs a quarterback and take Bryce Young, which I think may happen because I don't think they're going to draft. I really don't think they're going to draft anybody at the number 1 spot. I think they're using that strictly for leverage to get more draft picks. But this Texans team needs a lot of work. They need receivers. Their O-line needs work. Their defense has been a huge work in progress for them. I think Lovie, and then now they need a new head coach. So Texans still a long road ahead. The Bears, they went. I mean, the way Justin Fields played the second half of the year was amazing. It's just the rest of the team couldn't keep up. They traded away their 2 best defensive players in Roquan Smith, and I keep forgetting the second player off the top of my head. Regardless, their 2 best defensive players got traded away. I think one might have gotten released, but I'm not too sure about that. But everyone but Justin Fields is the problem here. David Montgomery has been the most inconsistent running back in a number of years here. But the Bears need a lot of work. They went 3-14. They had the number 1 spot. They have the perfect amount of leverage to get a large sum of draft picks to improve their team. This is we're talking about a 2 or 3 year rebuild essentially for that team. So we'll see. The Cardinals fired their head coach. Kyler Murray doesn't want to run anymore. He's scared to run. Tore his ACL. He'll be out till probably November. DeAndre Hopkins, a report came out about it an hour and a half before the show started. The Cardinals are looking to trade away DeAndre Hopkins. So, Patriots, maybe. They need a receiver. Trade away Nelson Aguilar. I say sign Nelson. Actually, trade away, even though he's on last year of his contract. Trade him away. Trade away maybe Nelson Aguilar, Jacoby Myers, maybe have them go away. I would say include Tyquan Thornton, even though I don't think he's that great of a receiver. Get DeAndre Hopkins in here. So they might be in a little bit of a rebuild. They lost J.J. Watt to retirement. There's a lot of problems with this team that they need to get going. They still got Rondale Moore. He's a great, I say he's a good receiver. I believe they still have Zach Ertz, but he got hurt this past year. There's a lot of things the Cardinals need to work on, and you know what? That's why they have a long road ahead of them. The next tier is recalibration. These teams were close to playoff contention. It just there needs to be some sort of change. So the Jets. Quarterback is their main piece that they need. The main piece. They also need to work on the offensive line. Mekhi Becton has got hurt every single year. They need some sort of piece there for, I guess, at this point, when Mekhi Becton gets hurt, a piece to fill him in there. Sauce Gardner, the highest graded cornerback in the league this season. They have two very good receivers in, actually, I would say three. I think definitely Garrett Wilson, who I think may be Offensive Rookie of the Year. Elijah Moore is good, and then you could throw basically anyone else out there. I think they're pretty good receivers. Those two, though, Elijah Moore and Garrett Wilson are very, very good receivers. Sauce Gardner, like I said. Elijah Vera Tucker has been a good offensive lineman for them. On the defense, Jermaine Johnson, a huge asset, and also Sauce Gardner, those two players that got in this past draft, have been great assets to them. C.J. Mosley, a great asset. DJ Reed, great asset. The Jets have a lot of pieces. They just need some sort of change with their team. Quarterback's the main piece. Maybe get another backup running back in case Breece Hall goes down again. Breece Hall played great. Get a couple offensive pieces, and this Jets team could be a playoff team next year. And I think, you know what? It's probably likely if they get those pieces, they will be a playoff team. The Packers. Aaron Rodgers, this experiment with Aaron Rodgers, keeping him in and not playing Jordan Love, it's failed. It's absolutely failed. In 3 straight elimination games this past week to get into the playoffs or get sent home, they lost. Last year against the 49ers, they lost. And then the previous year in the championship game against the Bucs, they lost. And I just want to say, what's the reason? I'm going to talk about this later on. What's the reason people are going to give for Aaron Rodgers losing to the Lions? Wasn't their defense. Wasn't special teams. I think it was Aaron Rodgers. Can't be the receiver core. I just think Aaron Rodgers didn't play well. But that's besides the point. We'll get that later on. The Falcons, quarterback's an issue. Running backs are really good. Cordell Patterson, and I can't pronounce the next running back's name. He had like the most rushing yards for a rookie. He played great this year. Receivers need receivers. That's one thing. Their defense needs a lot of work. They had one notable defensive player, and that's AJ Terrell. Only notable defensive player on that team. Offensive line needs work. This team, just they need pieces here, and I think they might have should have been in long road ahead, but we're going to keep them here for now. The Patriots, quarterback is not the issue. It's a coaching issue. A coaching issue and an offensive line issue. They need to work on that. That is the first thing. Trent Brown, I give him a D+ to a D on this year. For some reason, he likes to just drop down and hopefully trip someone up. But you know what? You see that. He's a 380-pound, 6'8" guy. He drops down and just go around him. He's not that fast. I've seen him getting blown by most of the year this year. Page and Lillard, their defense. They have some of the shortest cornerbacks in the league and also the lightest cornerbacks in the league. T. Higgins absolutely destroyed Marcus Jones. Jack Jones, he got suspended toward the end of the year within the Patriots organization for, I guess, rehab issues. There's a lot of work. It starts with Matt Patricia, though. Get Matt Patricia the hell away from the offense. Same thing with Joe Judge. My guess is for the Patriots this next upcoming season. Gerard Mayo, I think he'll get a head coaching job somewhere. He had a great interview last year with the Broncos. Move him to a head coaching job. Move Matt Patricia to DC. Joe Judge goes back to special teams because special teams is what killed them against the Bills this past week. But the Patriots, Mac Jones is not the problem. Get rid of Tyquan Thornton. I don't think the experiment with him worked. Did not play that well. Devontae Parker played really good, especially this past week, but he just got hurt. I'd say bring in DeAndre Hopkins. There's some pieces here, but this team is close to a playoff team. Close. They just need better coaching. Look at what Doug Peterson did to Trevor Lawrence. Look at what Brian Daboll did to Daniel Jones. Come on. Next one, Colts. Quarterback's an issue. The offensive line had a bunch of penalties this year. Receivers, they need to add another receiver. Their defense was underwhelming this year. Colts need some recalibration here. Matt Ryan, I believe he's on a 2-year contract. I think they're expected to actually release him this offseason, so we'll see what they do. Saints, quarterback's an issue. Mike Thomas has been hurt since I believe he broke the record. They need to work on him. That's a recalibration they need. Their defense is still respectable. Receivers, Alvin Kamara, he's still a great running back. Maybe need to get a second running back there. Quarterback's their main issue, though. The Browns, Deshaun Watson, he looked okay. Okay, still a lot of rust. We'll see. They're paying him $250 million fully guaranteed. So when we take a look at here, what are they going to do? Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt seem to be great running backs. They have Amari Cooper looked like a great receiver this year. Their defense needs a little bit of work, but this team, I'm not saying it'll go for playoffs. I just think, it's maybe a 2-year situation to get them back at least into playoff contention. The Titans, I don't think Ryan Tannehill should be there next year whatsoever. He's not. He didn't play that well. Derrick Henry, they need a second running back. Their offensive line needs work. They need receiver weapons. That's what they need. When Treylon Burks went down, they had basically nobody for a receiver. Their defense has been okay, not great. Need to work on that. A lot of holes to fill there. And the Bucs. Brady looks like 1 foot out the door there. Yes, they are in the playoffs, and yes, they're fighting for playoff contention. But here's the situation with them. Brady will be 46 years old next year. If he plays again, it won't be for the Buccaneers. He already knows how this team's going to end. This year looked a lot like the 2019 Patriots, where he just wasn't there. The team was not performing well, especially against good teams. This Bucs team, this offense is bad. No running game, zero running game. The offensive line, a lot of pressures that Brady got, a lot of QB hits. Their defense, I don't know what it is with their defense. They fell off a cliff, especially in the run defense. They need a lot of work. The next tier need a piece. The Giants need receivers. That's all they need, I think, and maybe beef up the offensive line. Their defense is really good, I think. Their defense, barring injuries, their defense is good. They need a receiver. They need a couple receivers, and they need 1 or 2 offensive linemen. And this team, they are in the playoffs. I think they could be repeat playoff contenders if they just fill in those gaps. The Seahawks, Geno Smith, I think will get that long-term deal. They need another running back because Kenneth Walker, when he got hurt, they had no running game. Get another running back. You have offensive weapons, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, that's fine. Your offensive line did a pretty good job. You need to fill some holes on the defense, and then that'll basically be good enough. I mean, you're in the playoffs right now. Fix your defense. You should be fine. The Steelers, Kenny Pickett looks good. Pickens looks good. Your offensive line needs a little bit of work. Najee Harris, he didn't have a great start, but I think he had a pretty good finish. Your defense needs to stay healthy. Add 1 or 2 pieces. I think you could actually make a playoff push next year. Ravens, get Lamar some weapons. Get him some receivers. Even though, here's the situation, they're a run-first team. Receivers don't want to go there, but get him a receiver or 2, and that should be fine. Lamar needs to also stay healthy and actually get re-signed by the Raiders. We'll see if that actually works. The next one, Lions. Your defense is the problem. We all assume that. You had a top 5 scoring offense. You're good there. Rams, you may need to drop down to recalibration or long road ahead because Sean Payton may be out the door. Matt Stafford's going to stay. Running backs need work. Cooper Kupp's still there. Your defense, Jalen Ramsey may get shipped out. Aaron Donald might retire. Who knows? Rams need a little bit of work. They might need a lot of work if they lose a lot of key pieces. Raiders, you need a quarterback. You need offensive line. You need defense. A couple pieces there. You have a pretty good offensive line. Not great. A good offensive line. You have receiver talent. Darren Waller may leave, though. You still have Hunter Renfrow. You still have Devontae Adams. Get a quarterback. Fix your passing defense. You'd be good. The Panthers, Sam Darnold may be there next year. I wouldn't be surprised if he's the quarterback next year. I really wouldn't. I think they may draft a quarterback, but I think, you know what? You need to fix an offensive line, get a receiver or 2. I think the Panthers, because that Panthers defense, Steve Wilkes, I don't know what happened with that Panthers defense. They made it very competitive at the end of the year once Matt Rule got out the door. So I think Steve Wilkes has a chance to be the Panthers head coach next year. It just doesn't seem that likely with the situation that's transpiring the past couple years. But I think Steve Wilkes does deserve the head coaching job. And let's get into the top 3 tiers here. Playoff secure. These teams have all playoff spots. I know the ones below, so a couple of the ones below did, but these teams, I think, were definitive playoff teams for a few weeks here. The Jaguars, they looked like a playoff team. Their record didn't show that because they went on that losing streak. The Dolphins, I said since the beginning of the year, I think the Dolphins were, no, that's a lie. Week 8, my final standings, I had the Dolphins as a playoff team. But 49ers with Brock Purdy, that offense looks good. The defense looks phenomenal. Eagles, I have a little bit of question mark because that last Giants game, but Jalen Hurts was dealing with an injury. Lane Johnson has been banged up. We'll see how they play in the divisional round because they don't play in the wild card. Let's see how they play in the divisional round coming up in, 2 weeks from now. Jaguars, you look good. Trevor Lawrence was the best quarterback since week 9. He's played phenomenal the past few weeks. Got his team to a playoff run. The Chargers, you play the Jaguars, you got to get your players healthy. They opened the 21-day window for Rashawn Slater. He may be back. You also have some injuries because you decided to play most of your starters well into the third quarter. Bose is dealing with an injury. Khalil Mack, he seemed to be really good. He had a really good peak at like week 1 of the year, and then weeks and like the middle of the season, didn't have such a great year. They've been battling injuries. J.C. Jackson was out, didn't play that well when he was there though. Derwin James is dealing with an injury. If you get your players healthy, you should be good. You may win a playoff game or two. Who knows? The Dolphins, they are the worst playoff team right now. I would say, honestly, the Giants if the Giants play the Dolphins, I think the Giants would have actually a good shot at beating them, especially if Tua can't go, because Tua hasn't even been cleared to play yet. So the Bills are going to absolutely destroy the Dolphins this upcoming week. The Vikings, they are frauds, I think. They are probably frauds. They play the Giants, and the only reason they beat the Giants last time they played was because of a 61-yard field goal. They may beat them. But that game is honestly a toss-up. We're going to talk about it on Friday when we make our picks, but they got their play. I mean, I said they go 13-4 at the very, very, very beginning of the year. I thought it was crazy, but it turned out to actually they went 13-4, which blows my mind. But this team, there's a lot of question marks. Kirk Cousins is playing at 4 p.m. I would honestly pick the Giants because Kirk Cousins outside of 1 p.m., not a great quarterback, and the Cowboys have a great defense. Dak Prescott, a lot of turnovers, so there's a lot of issues there. But with the Cowboys have been playing offensively, they scored a lot of points. Tony Pollard, a great running back. Zeke, a great, honestly, number 2 running back. I don't think he's the number 1. Cowboys are playing very, very well, heading right into the playoffs, except for that horrible game against the Commanders in the last week. But I think they'll honestly beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We're going to talk about that on Friday, though. The next one, oh, so close. These teams are right there. Right there from Super Bowl champion and Super Bowl favorite. They are very, very close. The Bills, red zone interceptions, and their defense has some issues. There's some flaws in their defense. The Bengals, I really thought I would put them over the Chiefs, which is our last, obviously, Super Bowl. I'll keep those both up there. They're very, very close. I think if they do play the Chiefs, they have a chance of beating them. But the way the Chiefs have been ending how they've been playing at the end of the year, the Chiefs deserve to be Super Bowl favorites. They are my number 1 power-ranked team, I guess you would call this. But the Bills and Bengals are right there. I think the Bengals, if they played the Bills, would beat them because we saw it in the DeMar Hamlin game. The Bengals basically drove right down the field and scored, and then they only allowed the Bills to kick a field goal before that game got suspended due to DeMar Hamlin going into cardiac arrest. But we will see if the Bengals and Bills play. I would honestly pick the Bengals, and then the Chiefs-Bengals game. Could Andy Reid finally beat the Bengals? I don't know, but these are the tiers. Long road ahead. I think I deserve to, or I need to drop the Falcons down into long road ahead. I think we have a pretty good end of tiers here, but that does wrap it up for. I forgot to change even the topic bar too. That's my bad. But that is how we have Nate's Notches entering the playoffs, the last one of the regular season. We will take a break. Coming up, we have a packed show. We got Patriots-Bills reaction, Rodgers in that Lions loss. That was a bad loss. Sean McVay maybe one step out the door. We talk about the national championship game, and we talk about the firing of Cliff Kingsbury and Lovie Smith and potential hires from Jim Harbaugh and Sean Payton. And also our Week 18 recap. We'll take a 2-minute break, but we will be back right after this.
You have a lot to say. Maybe you've thought, I should start a podcast. Meet Anchor, the easiest way to make a podcast ever. It's a powerful mobile app and web tool that lets you record a podcast anywhere and distribute it everywhere. It's great whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out. And it's 100% free. You can record your show straight into Anchor on your phone, iPad, or the web, using any mic you want. Record alone or with friends or co-hosts anywhere in the world. You can add background music and transitions, and your listeners can send you voice messages that you can incorporate right into your next episode. If you want to produce your show using another app, you can upload your own audio directly from web or mobile, and still take advantage of Anchor's totally free podcast hosting. Once your podcast is ready to publish, Anchor can automatically distribute it to every major podcast platform. That includes Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify, so your listeners can hear your show wherever they want. And on the web, you can see detailed analytics about how people are listening. Plus, you'll get a great-looking profile page where anyone can listen to your podcast or subscribe to it. And if you want to ask your audience to support your work, Anchor makes it easy to collect monthly payments from the people who love your podcast and want to see it grow. You really don't need a recording studio, expensive equipment, or a bunch of technical knowledge to deal with a podcast feed. Just get started and join the diverse community of podcasters already on Anchor. We can't wait to hear your podcast.
Introducing video podcasts on Spotify.
Transform your storytelling into a show everyone can watch
or listen to.
Easily upload your video through Anchor, Spotify's free podcast creation tool.
So whether you're showing off a new recipe,
interviewing an exclusive guest,
or uncovering the next mystery,
you can now reach a whole new audience with Spotify.
Podcasting just became more than audio.
Create with Anchor, watch on Spotify.
Welcome back to the Harvey Hour. My name's Nathan Harvey, and now I'm joined alongside my dad, Stephen Harvey. Let's get into the main part of the show, though. We're talking about, what did I say? The Bills did indeed blow out the New England Patriots, but I think there was more to that than just the simple blowout. There's a lot of things wrong here with the Patriots-Bills game. But Nyheim Hines, 2 kickoff returns for a touchdown, one to open up the game. That's a tremendous one, 96 yards. Those 2 touchdown kickoff runs went for a total of 197 yards on both of them. They eliminated the Patriots. Patriots missed the playoffs for the second time in 3 years. So what is your reaction to this game?
Disappointment. Very disappointed. I was hoping the Patriots would win. I knew it was a long shot, actually, because the Bills had a lot to play for in that game. Their teammate was starting to recover. Thank God, DeMar Hamlin. And he spoke to the team before the game. I'm sure that fired them up a lot. They were raring to go, and the fans were really into it, so it was a tough environment for the Patriots to be in. But giving up 2 kickoff returns for touchdowns in one game is very, very poor, I must say. In fact, I would say the special teams coach there should be considered for replacement, and I bet they're talking about that because they have Joe Judge, who hasn't distinguished himself much as a quarterback's coach this year. He could step in there and go back to being the special teams coach. He did a good job in that role. So I'm expecting that may happen in the offseason. Belichick has announced he's coming back for another year, and I knew I was sure that was going to happen, and he should. I think he's a great coach. And
right.
I had some issues this year. I'm sure they're going to work on them, and hopefully next year they'll be a playoff team. And they had a very tough schedule this year. It's a very hard schedule. And I counted on them winning 10 games, and they came up short. They only won 8. So,
how would you describe the way the Patriots' offense looked in this game? If you had to put a couple words to it or a phrase, how would you describe the Patriots' offense?
I thought it was serviceable. I'd say they did okay. I mean, their offense moved the ball reasonably well. The Bills have a good defense.
Yeah.
And the Patriots moved the ball well. And actually, if it wasn't for the interceptions, and, one of them I put on Mac Jones, the other 2 were tip balls, and, anything can happen when the ball's up in the air. So those really weren't his fault. But they were moving the ball, and Mac Jones had 3 touchdown passes. So I think the offense was one of their better games, actually. If it hadn't been for the 2 kickoff returns and, the 3 interceptions, that's five items there that are working against you in a game. And that's just too much to overcome against a team like the Bills, who are playing for maybe a Super Bowl berth. So, you can't make those kinds of mistakes. And they played pretty well in terms of the penalties. There wasn't a penalty until late in the third quarter, I think. So
right.
Then there were a few, but it wasn't like in the past the Patriots have had problems with penalties. They didn't really have it in this game. So I was disappointed. That's the bottom line. I was hoping they'd make it into the playoffs there, and seeing the Dolphins get in, they're not going anywhere. seeing the Dolphins take that 7th spot, it was just like rubbing salt in my wound. It's tough to take, very hard to take.
The thing that jumped out at me the most was the fact that in this game, when it comes to play action, Mac Jones went 9 for 9 for 92 yards, and a touchdown. That's the way they did play action, and I have it right in front of me. The entire year, they used play action only 16.7% of the time. His completion percentage when they did play action, 73.1. That's the weird thing about this offense. Ramondre Stevenson was your key piece to this offense. Would you say that? It was a huge factor in this offense was Ramondre Stevenson running the ball.
Yeah.
And
they didn't get that much in rushing yards in this game, right?
No. They could not run the ball that well. They had some
generally
explosive
you go
runs,
to play action when the running game's working. You know? Generally you use play action when the running game's working. They didn't really have much of a running game in this game. I was kind of surprised at that stat. I didn't realize that stat, but yeah, they should use the play action more because they have a decent running game most of the time. I don't know what. That's a problem. They have a problem with the offensive play calling.
Ramondre Stevenson averaged 5 yards, 5 yards an attempt. 5 yards. He was a 1,000-yard rusher this season on 200 carries. And they only decided to do play action, which is when your running game is efficient enough. And he did 16.7% of the time, 73% completion percentage on that, 600 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Nelson Aguilar, who we both don't like, we don't think he's as good as his contract says, he got targeted once in this game for an interception. That was the only throw Mac Jones had that was a horrible throw. The other 2 were into double coverage for Hunter Henry that was behind him, and the other interception, that was a tip ball. Mac Jones throwing deep 20-plus yards was 1 of 1 for 26 yards and a touchdown. Perfect passer rating. His deep ball is there. His deep ball is not bad. He had 3 big, let's see how many. He had 22 big-time throws, which is tremendous. He only had 14, the entire season, 14 turnover-worthy plays. That's 2.7% of his throws were turnover-worthy. He played well under the circumstances here. But yes, they did I have it here. They did throw a screen pass.
I don't know what it means to be turnover worthy. What does that mean?
You throw it into, double coverage, triple coverage.
He did that 14 times in this game?
No, the season.
In the season, he only did that 14 times.
He did not have that many turnover-worthy plays here. They averaged here dropback percentage. People were saying, all he does is screen passes. They only did 15% of his passes were screen passes. They were very short passes, but not designed screens. This was just bad. He still completed 65% of his throws, and this past Bills game, which everyone I think understands, in QBR, this was his best game all year, and he actually was 7th this week in QBR with 67.7. The only notable quarterbacks that beat him were Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert. But he also beat out quarterbacks like Kenny Pickett, Russell Wilson, which doesn't really say much right now, Brock Purdy, which everyone loves, Trevor Lawrence he beat out, Jared Goff, who had an okay game, not great, Aaron Rodgers he beat out, Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts.
It was a 2 kickoff returns.
That was the difference. 14 points from the 2 kickoffs would have made this mean Patriots win 23-21.
Doesn't mean that they would have stopped him totally on those 2 drives.
Maybe not. Maybe not.
Maybe they would have been field goals instead of
Could have been.
Touchdown.
And what's crazy is the Bills were actually getting to him when they didn't even call a blitz. Mac Jones' time to throw when they didn't blitz was 1.05 seconds. That's ridiculous.
They need a better offensive line.
Their offensive line needs work, and guess who's the offensive line coach? The same guy calling plays.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be doing that next year.
So I got to give it to the Bills. This was, I said the Bills would be fired up. Nyheim Hines goes for 2 touchdowns. He went from having, I think, 0 all year to now leading the league in kick return touchdowns.
Stephon Diggs burned him again.
Jonathan Jones.
Yeah.
What did I say? Jonathan Jones.
I don't know why they played the man defense. That they can't stop Stephon Diggs in the man defense.
Yeah. Josh Allen did not have a great game this week. He didn't have a particularly great game. I mean, Mac Jones through the first half, this offense was moving the ball downfield. They looked really, really good. And then you had another kick return touchdown. You had just the offense couldn't keep it up as well as they could at the very beginning of the game. And that's when the Bills pulled away. The defense, they had Josh Allen's bootleg down to, it was a broken down play to Gabe Davis for the touchdown. He was rolling out and then just heaved it up there for Gabe Davis, who caught the touchdown. And then Jonathan Jones just got absolutely blown by on a blown coverage for another touchdown. That was the game right there. That was the game, at least when it came to the defense for the Patriots. Plus, obviously, it was the 2 kick return touchdowns. So the Patriots moving forward, it looks like they may target, you didn't hear this, but DeAndre Hopkins, the Cardinals are looking actually to trade him. My guess would be you attach Nelson Aguilar, Tyquan Thornton, and maybe a second-round pick. Get the DeAndre Hopkins. That would be my trade.
I'd be okay with that.
Maybe
he had some injury issues.
Well,
Yeah.
not really. I mean, he was only out the first 6 games this year due to a PED suspension. But I mean,
last year.
Last year he had an injury issue, and it looks like Cliff Kingsbury. The Patriots are doing their research on Cliff Kingsbury, which we'll talk about later in the show. But they're doing their diligent research for the next offensive play caller. So we will see what exactly that does. And
he played for the Patriots.
He did. He was a 7th round pick back in 2007. I think he got drafted by them. So. We'll see what happens, but you know what? The Bills played well. They're in the playoffs. I think they're going to absolutely obliterate the Dolphins next week.
I hope so.
I mean, what's it called? Tua hasn't even been cleared to play, so we'll see exactly how they do if Skylar Thompson or Teddy Bridgewater.
Seems like Bridgewater ought to be able to play now, right? His finger ought to be.
You would think,
swelling,
but
should have gone down.
Who knows? I think the first thing is get a better offensive play caller. That's the first thing you need to do. The second thing is. Your receivers aren't bad. I said they're B to B plus at the very best. And you said that Devontae Parker was underwhelming, and then he comes out and says, "Yeah, look at me. When I'm healthy, I can do this."
He did well.
He played very well.
Kendrick
Bourne had a couple nice catches. He had a horrible drop. Mac Jones actually had 3 drops in this game. One, I think Ramondre Stevenson or it might have been one of the running backs had a horrible drop. Kendrick Bourne had another drop, and I'm not sure what the other drop was, but I gotta give it. Mac Jones, we've seen what Mac Jones can be under a stable offense.
Oh, they need to get him an elite wide receiver.
Jacoby Myers is fighting for him. He says what Mac Jones did this season in games where people were chanting Bailey Zappi, and he didn't complain. And David Andrews is saying that, was it someone on the Patriots, I'm forgetting who it is, said that they would find themselves in the Patriots facility very, very late, and Mac Jones would still be there. So I don't think it's a Mac Jones problem. I think he's dedicated.
Belichick said through support to him.
Yeah, Belichick said that Mac Jones could be a very good quarterback in the league. You thought that might have been boosting up his value in case they want to get off of him, but I don't think so.
I don't think they're going to do that.
The question is, who do they go for first? I think, honestly, they'll say receiver. I think a lot of mocks may have the Patriots drafting a receiver. They have, I believe, Njigba's his name from Ohio State. They have the 14th overall pick. My honest, if I had to make a mock, I would pick the best available cornerback in the draft. I would say if you get DeAndre Hopkins, go cornerback. That's your problem. Jonathan Jones, who you said at the very beginning of the offseason when we lost J.C. Jackson, Jonathan Jones is a pretty good cornerback.
He is a pretty good cornerback.
He
had a great play in the Bills game. He knocked the ball out there. Yeah. That was a pretty smart play, right?
But when it comes to the best receivers here, the top
Where's
tier,
he ranked? Where's he ranked cornerback-wise?
I'll get that up, but what I'm saying is when it comes to, let's see if I'll bring this up right now, cornerbacks. Here we go. Let's see where Jonathan Jones is ranked. 42nd. 42nd in the league.
Yeah. That's
not good. That's not good. So you would take pride in saying he's a top 50 cornerback. That's not a good stat to be a part of.
No, they still have Jack Jones if they can.
Jack Jones, he's a rookie. There's some issues.
He's in the
there.
doghouse with them.
Yeah, he's in for some. I think it's rehab issues. They suspended him in the team. So who knows about that? But they need to get another corner. They need to get a big
How about
cornerback.
Jake Bailey? What are they going to do with him?
He's filing for a grievance. He thinks unlawful suspension. So we'll see what happens with them. But the Patriots, they need some work. Not a lot of work. Not that much work. Get 1 or 2 offensive pieces. They're going to lose D-Mac, so they may go actually safety. But David Andrews is the last veteran. They haven't announced retirement yet, but it's 99% chance both of them will retire. David Andrews is the last veteran true leader there. So we'll see what happens when it comes to next season. This offseason should be interesting, but the Patriots have about $50 million in cap room. We'll see what they do.
What happened
with it.
to Cole Strange? He was an offensive lineman. He wasn't playing. Has he been hurt?
No, he's. What do you mean? He has been playing.
Was he in there?
Yeah, he was
Sunday?
in there. Yeah,
I didn't see him.
Yeah, he's left guard for them. He's left guard. I'd probably give him a B on the year if I had the greatest performance.
he
I'd
did
give him a B. But Trent Brown, I've voiced my displeasure with how horrible he gets. A lot of penalties. He doesn't at 380 and 6'8". You would expect him to do a little bit better than he has.
Big.
He's big, but that's about all he is. He's not that great of an offensive.
Isaiah Wynn will be gone.
I think they're going to get off of him. He has been very underwhelming for a first-round pick. But we'll see what the Patriots do. Bill Belichick's returning. I thought he may retire. I was wrong about that. I'm still right about Mac Jones. We've seen what Mac Jones can be. Now we'll see what the Patriots do to help him. We will see. But let's get into the next topic. We're talking about the Packers and Lions, because, oh my goodness me, what are people going to be saying about Aaron Rodgers now? I believe, actually, I have a soundbite from Aaron Rodgers, and we'll bring that up right now. This was him post-game after getting eliminated from the playoffs and losing pretty badly to the Detroit Lions.
Where do you stand on what you want to do next year?
I mean, it's a little raw right now. It's just a little bit after the game, so I want to take the emotion out of it and have the conversations and see where the organization's at and see how I feel after some time has passed.
Is there any sort of timetable with that? Is there like a date where you want to make your decision by? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to hold them hostage.
Do you think is the decision all yours, you think, or?
No, I don't think so. I think there's got to be mutual on both sides. Do I feel like I have anything left to prove to myself? Do I want to go back and gear up for another grind? Or is it time? Is it time to step away? Is it time for another voice to be leading this team? I have a lot of pride in what I've accomplished in this league, but I'm also realist, and I understand where we're at as a team. We're a young team. There could be some changes with some of the older guys, and it could be time to step away. But I could take some time and say, hell no, man, I need to get back out there and go on another run.
Has the organization indicated to you in any way whether they want you back or not, or if they're not sure either, or is that based on your feeling?
It's just a feeling. Yeah, it's just a feeling. I think to assume it's a foregone conclusion, would be probably slightly egotistical. So I'm going to be a realist here and understand that there's a lot of different parts to this. And like I said, I was aware of, the possibility of them going young if we had gotten to a point where we're out of it. And I'm aware of that possibility as well. Wouldn't be, the best reality, but I know it's a possibility.
That was Aaron Rodgers at the end of the Lions game. He's manifesting his destiny now. He's getting all hopped up. He's probably gonna go on another ayahuasca trip. He's gonna go down to probably who knows where he's gonna travel to this time. But the way he looked at the end of the game, pushing cameras away and keeping his jersey. He actually explained that, saying, some games, it's a Sunday night game. Some jerseys you just want to keep a hold on to. Hugging Randall Cobb, talking to Randall Cobb, who he wanted back the past couple of years. Do you think this could be Rodgers' last season with the Packers, or even his last season in the NFL?
Maybe his last season with the Packers, although he's owed $100 million guaranteed. So some teams will have to look really hard and want him really bad in order to pay that kind of money,
right, for
a trade. I do think he will be back. I don't think he's going to retire. Nobody's going to walk away from $100 million. Not Aaron Rodgers or anyone. He's going to sit back and think after he's had a chance to lick his wounds from losing that game, which he should have won. That, you know what? I want that $50 million. So I'm going to come back. That's what I think is going to happen, Nate.
How would you, because we've seen this in 3 straight years. When it comes to an elimination game, you had the championship game against the Bucks. You had the divisional game against the 49ers. And now you have the make-or-break game against the Lions. We've seen Aaron Rodgers, late in the game, completely fall apart. He scored I believe, what is it? I think the Packers have only scored. Let's see here. Yeah,
they scored 14 points in that game on Sunday night.
Scored
16.
16.
20 to 16. Yeah.
In the fourth quarter, I believe the Packers in these elimination games have scored a total of 6 points across 3 games. They have not played well at all, and Aaron Rodgers
did he throw
has
the
not played well.
interception in the
in
at
fourth
the end
quarter.
of the game?
Yeah, fourth quarter. Yeah. So, and it was a bad interception too. It was not a good one. He actually had one earlier in the game where it got called back because it's the Lions and they had like a penalty or something like that, and that got called back. They also had a touchdown that got called back due to a penalty.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I think if they want to trade him, there'll be a lot of interest. And I think he's still, he doesn't look old out there. I mean, he's pretty mobile.
Yeah.
And he has an arm. I mean, he flicks his wrist and the ball goes 50 yards.
It's weird, though, too, because he does it from his back foot. Quarterbacks step into a throw. He steps back and throws it, and then it goes 45, 50 yards in the air.
So he's a talent. There's no doubt about that. He still has a lot of talent. He could still play at a very high level. A lot of teams would be interested if the Packers wanted to trade him.
Right.
And maybe the Packers, I doubt they'd want to take money back in order to say goodbye to him.
Right.
Because, they had a funny season. They started out terrible.
They started off really low, and then they all of a sudden have a chance to make it to the playoffs after Rodgers.
They blow a game against the Lions.
Twice.
At home.
Twice. They
at
blew
home.
2 games
and the Lions didn't play well either.
No.
They didn't play well. Jared Goff didn't play well in that game. The cold weather, I think, affected him.
Yeah, Jared Goff is a problem in cold weather. But Aaron Rodgers in this game, in the fourth quarter, 2 of 6, 12 yards, 1 pick, a passer rating of 2.6 on a scale of, 0 to 158.3. He did not play well, and he hasn't played well. And in the playoffs, he hasn't played well, especially when it comes down to, in the fourth quarter, needing to come back, needing to take the lead, being the elite transcendental quarterback that we all say he is. He's a back-to-back MVP. Imagine if Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, if they were back-to-back, Brady, if they were back-to-back MVPs, and then they throw a dud in the next 3, if they throw a dud in 3 seasons, 2 of which they were the MVP for, what would their criticism be? Throw in Lamar Jackson for that, because I've been critical of Lamar.
Well, in the last 2 seasons, one of the games he was playing in the NFC Championship game.
That was his first one, against Brady. He went 4 of 11, 54 yards.
It was a divisional playoff game in the second one, right?
Yep, against the snowy game in Lambeau.
It's not like they were, they were one and done in those 2 years.
No, in the 49ers one, they were 1 and done. Because they were divisional. Divisional
okay, so they had a good enough record to get a bye.
They got the bye, and then the first game, Aaron Rodgers in the fourth quarter did not play well, though. 4 of 7, 17 yards.
Those 2 years, the team did well most of the season, right?
And he even said this in the interview, which I didn't cut because it was like a minute and a half. It was a 20-minute interview, and I only cut it down to a minute and a half. He said that the loss of Devontae Adams was huge for them. They just could not get it going. But I think it's in large part due. Aaron Rodgers in the offseason does not stay dedicated. He goes on vacations and he does ayahuasca trips. He does all these things when then you have brand new receivers, and we saw it. The Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs, they just couldn't connect with Aaron Rodgers. And now you had a perfect opportunity when you were technically, statistically still in, but it was like a 10% chance, 8% chance. Put Jordan Love in. You don't think Jordan Love, I have the game right here. You don't think Jordan Love could have gone 4 of 12 on third down? You don't think he could have done that?
I don't know.
You don't think Jordan Love could go 1 of 2 on fourth down? The past couple times we've seen Jordan Love, we've seen him like 2 or 3 times. In this season, when he played, was it the Eagles? Whatever game he came into, I'm not too sure off the top of my head. He looked good, and we're hearing reports coming out of the practices. He's looking much, much better. This is a perfect opportunity because you need to pay him or get rid of him in this offseason to figure out if Jordan Love can play at the NFL level during an NFL game, keeping up with NFL speed. And you throw away an opportunity like this, and now you have Aaron Rodgers manifesting his destiny.
I think the money had something to do with it, and the fact that they weren't out of it. They weren't never technically out of it, right? They had a chance to get into the playoffs, and they were paying him $50 million to be their quarterback. So, and he was playing better. He played a lot better the last 6-7 weeks. So that's why. That's why you haven't seen Jordan Love.
I think at some point, I would say eat it. Your organization needs work anyway.
No, they may try to trade him. Maybe they're going to try to trade him.
Rip the Band-Aid off. Aaron Rodgers, here's the thing, though. He mentioned not holding this organization hostage. Yes, he has, because he's threatened retirement over the past, 3-4 seasons. And then everyone's saying, Aaron Rodgers, no, what do you want? Please come back. We'll give you Randall Cobb like you asked for. We can't bring Jordy Nelson back. We can't bring back Donald Driver. But we have Randall Cobb here. You want 2 great running backs? Here, we'll draft A.J. Dillon for you. We have Aaron Jones. You want Devontae Adams? First chance he got to get out of there, he left because he didn't want to deal with Aaron Rodgers' commitment, threatening retirement. The first chance he got the hell out of Dodge. And now you look at Aaron Rodgers here saying, "Oh, well, I'm gonna take a step back and really take the emotion out of it and give me a break." Aaron Rodgers. This has nothing to do with Aaron Rodgers' talent. Aaron Rodgers is still a very, very talented quarterback. It's just when it comes to staying dedicated, he's not there. He's not there, and he doesn't do great with relationships. He has a very small circle, which there's no real problem with having a small circle of people. It's just the way Aaron Rodgers goes about. He's a different type of person when it comes to the rest of the NFL. He's just a different type of player.
Yeah,
but that's not in the playoffs. He won that one Super Bowl, and you can never take that away from him. That's something that'll always stay there. He had that one Super Bowl run. Since then, in the playoffs, he's been terrible. Terrible. And this time, you can't say, the defense gave up so many points. They gave up 20 points. Oh, the special teams. Look at that. Block. No, none of that. It was Aaron Rodgers. Your play.
I still think he'll wind up being a Hall of Fame quarterback.
No, 1,000% he is. This is like Russell Westbrook. He's played horrible the past couple seasons. But he will be a first ballot Hall of Famer. Can't shoot threes very well. Free throw percentage in the toilet. Aaron Rodgers, not great in the clutch, but the way he's played, the touchdown to interception ratio, which is huge. I think it's a large part why he won the MVP. He didn't throw that many picks.
2 Hail Mary passes he completed a couple of years ago.
The very, very famous Hail Marys he's thrown. The way he's played, yes, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer for sure. But when it comes to the biggest games, he doesn't really show up. He's won 4 MVP awards. He got robbed on the last one. He led the league in touchdown interception ratio, QBR by 1 point, and then passer rating by I think 8 points. Brady had more yards, more touchdowns, more throws, more attempts, and everything like that.
Brady's the one that got ripped off on that.
He got ripped off. And Mahomes actually has about the same stats as Brady did last year, but he'll obviously win because no one has that argument. But Rodgers has not played that well. He got outplayed by Jared Goff, who has gotten disrespected. He got kicked out of Los Angeles. Comes into Detroit. The Detroit team wasn't great. Goes 3-13, I think, or 3-14. He comes back, plays really well this season. Their defense they had the 32nd ranked defense. And guess what? In the 2 games combined, they had horrible defenses in both those games. In 2 games combined, you put up 25 points. 25 in 2 games against the 32nd ranked defense. And this is Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
Back-to-back MVP.
I think the Lions up-and-coming team.
Absolutely.
They have a lot of good young players, and Jared Goff I think he's a good quarterback.
It's hard to say because
they wound up with a winning record. They wound up at 9-8.
They did.
They
And
could have made the playoffs if the Rams could have beaten the Seahawks.
Yeah. Baker Mayfield, by the way, was second to last in QBR. If it wasn't for Anthony Brown having I have it here. Yeah, Anthony Brown had a 6.1 QBR scale.
Who's Anthony Brown?
He was the 3rd-string Baltimore Ravens quarterback because Tyler Huntley couldn't go. Lamar, he's out. He seemingly, we're going to talk about this probably on Friday. He may return for this playoff game. Who exactly knows? But yeah, Baker Mayfield, 10.1, second to last. But Rodgers, there's no excuse for this game. There's no excuse, really. And Christian Watson, this may be a hot take. You know what? I'll take it. The way Christian Watson has emerged, especially as a rookie, 6'5", runs a 4.3. I'd put him over DJ Moore. I would put him over.
He's had some drops this year.
Very early on. But I think he ended the year with only 3 drops. He had those 2 very, very early on. I think he might have had 1 more down the line. But The Packers probably will lose Alan Lazard. He looks like he's out there. He sort of mentioned that this was probably his last year as a Green Bay Packer. Randall Cobb may retire. He's getting up there in age. You still have really two really good running backs. Your offensive line had a bit of an issue this year with injuries. David Bakhtiari in and out of the lineup, mostly out of the lineup though. Romeo Dobbs, the young receiver, Christian Watson, I'd put him over DJ Moore and Michael Pittman Jr. I just think what we'll see if Aaron Rodgers plays with these. Let's say he stays, because I think, you know what. It's hard to say because the way he was acting at the end of the game, it could just be him, reflecting, and he might go on that. He went on some sort of weird meditation, this sort of cleanse towards the end of the offseason last year. Maybe he needs one of those. Maybe he needs another one of those. Or you know what?
Well, give the guy a break a little bit. I mean, it has been a long season.
It has been a long season.
It was a disappointing loss at the end, so he's feeling a little down. But I think once he has time to recover and his bruises heal, and he thinks about it, that $50 million is there for me. I've got a contract. In fact, it's $100 million over the next 2 years.
Right.
I'm going to suck it up and go get that money.
We will see, but I think Aaron Rodgers may stay. It's just a question of whether or not he stays in Green Bay. But
right.
Then a team needs to take on Aaron Rodgers and maybe some of that contract.
Yeah, it might be fun to watch him play for another team, He's always been with the Packers.
Maybe. But like you said, it's mutual. We'll see. I think it's time for the Packers to rip the Band-Aid off and move on from him. But that's me. All right, let's get into our next topic here. Sean McVay. Jake Glazer reports that Sean McVay is basically one step out the door from retiring as a head coach. A very underwhelming season, going 5-12. They did lose to the Seahawks, which actually gave the Seahawks a playoff spot, the number 7 seed. And McVay, there's some issues. Aaron Donald wrote his retirement letter last year, but didn't submit it to the NFL, decided to come back. Matthew Stafford is there. He got hurt this past year. Jalen Ramsey, they may need to move off him. A lot of issues. The offense, Cooper Kupp got hurt. A very underwhelming season. The worst season, actually, the following a Super Bowl championship. So, the way Sean McVay is, he's undecided still. He's sort of in limbo. Do you think Sean McVay will return next year? And are you surprised, Sean McVay and all these rumors about him stepping away after winning the Super Bowl?
I'm very surprised. The guy's only 36 years old. Why would he be thinking about retiring? Come on. You have one tough season. You won the Super Bowl last year. Get back in there. Come on. Have social resilience. I think if he retires, what does that say about him? I don't know. He's just a young guy. I don't understand it. He's had a lot of success. One tough season. You're going to pack it in and retire?
Right.
Is he under contract? I mean, what's the deal with his contract, I wonder?
I mean, Sean Payton's still under contract, but I don't think that'll matter. Because Sean Payton still has 2 years left on his deal. But
with the
Saints, yeah.
To the Saints, yeah.
So, it looks like any team that wants Sean Payton, we'll get into this 2 topics from now. Any team we need to try, they're looking for a first and more for Sean Payton, but
I don't know why he would consider retiring.
A lot of
maybe he doesn't like football anymore. I don't know.
A lot of like ESPN, Fox Sports 1, they're all looking to potentially sign him and be an analyst, sort of maybe have a Sean McVay swap, the Sean swap from positions.
Yeah.
That could be something there, but I kind of agree with you. I don't love this look for Sean McVay. It's sort of like he's been to 2 Super Bowls and won 1. The first one, extremely young. Belichick outcoached him, but that's fine. Todd Gurley, the key part of that explosive offense back in 2018, was battling an injury. He has
a young quarterback too.
Yeah, Jared Goff, extremely young quarterback.
Second-year quarterback.
So,
I mean, he's had a lot of success. I don't understand why he would get all discouraged and everything over one bad season. That happens.
He's a tremendous offensive
They had a lot of
line,
injuries.
too.
They had a lot of injuries. They lost that key guy on their offensive line guy. Retired.
Andrew Whitworth.
Yeah, he retired.
Surprised he got 40 years old, the key piece of their offensive line.
The offensive line.
Yeah.
So, you got to rebuild a little bit.
Right.
Show us you can do that. Get back in there.
And he's an extremely young coach, too.
Yeah.
I mean, and the ability of him coaching, the way he coaches teams is actually amazing. There was a lot of people that came off of that tree of coaching, and they've been great coaches. Sean McVay, he's developed a coaching method. I mean, Matt Stafford went to a champ. The first year Matt Stafford got there, They won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
I don't know why he would do this. If maybe he's not going to. Maybe he just was in a bad mood one day and he talked to these guys and they got this going and now it's got some life to it. We'll see.
Maybe.
I mean, he would have to make a decision soon. If he really thinks he's going to do that for the benefit of the team, he's got to tell them soon so they have time to go out and find somebody to replace him.
Yeah.
You know?
I agree with you, though. This is not a great look.
If Sean Payton comes back, do they the team that gets him have to pay compensation to the because he's still under contract?
It would basically be a trade. You would have to trade a pick or a player or whatever to get Sean Payton. That's what the Patriots did for Bill Belichick when he went to the Jets.
Right.
They traded for Bill Belichick, which is weird though. You don't hear coach trades because that's just not how it is. You get fired. But it's going to be interesting to see how this offseason comes to. But Sean McVay, I honestly think it's a bad look. I get it. You may make more money being an analyst, and if that's what Sean McVay wants to do, get more money, so be it. But if deep down it's because the Rams may need to go into a rebuild, that's a lack of character right there. That's like front running a team. You show up, you just want to win, and then when stuff gets a little bit bad for you, you have one bad year, you're like, nah, I think I gotta get out of here.
Yeah.
I don't like the looks of the way this is going.
I agree.
I think it's bad. But hey, Matt Stafford says no matter who the head coach is, he'll still stay on the Rams.
Good for him.
So, and that's actually in large part why Matthew Stafford went there was because of Sean McVay. So him saying that, I think it's good to hear that. Matt Stafford is a really good person though. So I would probably expect that
I like
from
him too.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna take a break here, but still to come, we discussed Georgia's absolute domination over TCU last night. We react to the two firings of Cliff Kingsbury and Lovie Smith, and potentially hirings of Jim Harbaugh and Sean Payton, and we also recap the last week of the regular season, Week 18, right after this.
Introducing video podcasts on Spotify.
Transform your storytelling into a show everyone can watch
or listen to.
Easily upload your video through Anchor, Spotify's free podcast creation tool.
So whether you're showing off a new recipe,
interviewing an exclusive guest,
or uncovering the next mystery,
you can now reach a whole new audience with Spotify.
Podcasting just became more than audio.
Create with Anchor, watch on Spotify.
You have a lot to say. Maybe you've thought, I should start a podcast. Meet Anchor, the easiest way to make a podcast ever. It's a powerful mobile app and web tool that lets you record a podcast anywhere and distribute it everywhere. It's great whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out. And it's 100% free. You can record your show straight into Anchor on your phone, iPad, or the web, using any mic you want. Record alone or with friends or co-hosts anywhere in the world. You can add background music and transitions, and your listeners can send you voice messages that you can incorporate right into your next episode. If you want to produce your show using another app, you can upload your own audio directly from web or mobile and still take advantage of Anchor's totally free podcast hosting. When a podcast is ready to publish, Anchor can automatically distribute it to every major podcast platform. That includes Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify, so your listeners can hear your show wherever they want. And on the web, you can see detailed analytics about how people are listening. Plus, you'll get a great-looking profile page where anyone can listen to your podcast or subscribe to it. And if you want to ask your audience to support your work, Anchor makes it easy to collect monthly payments from the people who love your podcast and want to see it grow. You really don't need a recording studio, expensive equipment, or a bunch of technical knowledge to deal with a podcast feed. Just get started and join the diverse community of podcasters already on Anchor. We can't wait to hear your podcast.
Welcome back to the Harvey Hour. My name's Nathan Harvey, and as always, I'm joined alongside my dad, Stephen Harvey. Let's get right into this. The national championship last night, the Georgia Bulldogs stomped all over the TCU Horned Frogs in the biggest margin of victory and the most points scored in a national championship game, and the Bulldogs become I think it's like the 13th team to go back-to-back in the history, but the first one to do it in this new format. Stetson Bennett, 343 total yards, 6 total touchdowns. The only other quarterback to do that is Joe Burrow when he played for LSU and won the national championship. So what's your reaction to this Georgia Bulldogs blowout win against TCU?
Well, Georgia's the best team. I said they were going to win. I picked them to win.
You also picked them to cover the 13.5, which was...
Yeah, which they did by a mile. And, it's great for them that they won back-to-back. I think that when the score got up to, 45-7 or so, they should have called off the Dogs and, let the game play out. And running the score up to 65 points to me is, I feel bad for TCU on that one.
Okay. I will say this, though. Kirby Smart, phenomenal head coach. Stetson Bennett, I'm surprised that no one's really, now they're obviously talking about Stetson Bennett as a good NFL quarterback, but last year, he won the national championship last year, and no one said nothing about him. Oh, when he's eligible, he'd be a great NFL quarterback. No one said nothing about him.
What's his size? How tall is he?
I don't think he doesn't look very big. I'll look it up right now.
He's it looks like a Drew Brees type quarterback.
5'11". He's a small quarterback, yeah.
He's good, though.
He is.
I think he's pretty good. He seems to... He's a clutch player, too, in the game against Ohio State. He made some clutch throws. I think he played extremely well in that game.
I mean, if Ohio State didn't, botch a field goal,
I know.
it'd be TCU Ohio State.
TCU Ohio State, yeah.
I mean, TCU just looked completely outmatched in this game.
I don't know what happened to them because they played a good game against Michigan, right? Look at all the points they scored, and Michigan had a very good defense.
I did say, though, last week when we made our prediction, I said I don't think TCU will get as lucky as they did because they had a few red zone. Michigan had a couple red zone turnovers in that game, and I said I don't think TCU will get that lucky, and it's just the case of that. Georgia was just clearly the better team, but TCU, there's nothing to take away from them making the national championship game.
True, but have that in the school record, 65-7.
That's brutal.
Tough.
That's brutal.
That's brutal. I think that didn't have to be like that. So I don't know. Did what's his name? The number 13 quarterback play the whole? He played the whole game.
No, he got pulled. Yeah. He got pulled at the start of the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
And I think they.
What was the score then?
I
fell asleep. I woke up at 65-7.
Oh no, yeah, I completely forgot. Just left the game plain. I didn't even pay attention to it. Let's see. They scored 13 points in the fourth quarter. So whatever. They have 52 points entering the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, Stetson Bennett looked really, really good in this game. 343 total yards, 6 total touchdowns. But could that be because TCU was just completely outmatched?
I don't know what happened to them.
They could not get the running game going. Max Duggan had a couple bad interceptions. And then TCU's defense just could not stop anything Georgia was doing.
Yeah.
Georgia had a tremendous running attack. Stetson Bennett, I think the first two touchdowns of the game were Stetson Bennett rushing, then Max Duggan rushing one. And that's the only touchdown of the game for TCU. Georgia was just incredible. Georgia's defense swallowed up anything TCU tried to do.
Yeah.
Couldn't move the ball down the field very well. TCU was sort of, they built their team around a great running game, and Georgia just shut that down. Their main guy, DeMercado, 14 carries, only 59 yards, 4.2 yards per carry. So Stetson Bennett, I mean, he's been in the league. He's been in college for a while. I think he's older than Mac Jones and Justin Fields and all of them. I would say he's a smaller quarterback, and that's why Bryce Young's getting dinged up now. His credibility, but
Kyler Murray's not very big,
and he doesn't look great.
Yeah,
he doesn't look great. But I think
he'll get drafted. I think someone
Stetson
will
Bennett
draft him. Yeah,
he deserves it. He deserves it. Yeah. He played great 2 years. I mean, he won 2 national championships back to back. So I would give Stetson Bennett a lot of credit here. I mean, I feel like I should be surprised because I bet the plus 13.5, but Georgia still wins. And I go into this game, I'm like, could TCU really upset Georgia here? And then the first touchdown happened, and I was like, oh no, because Georgia just moved the ball down the field so easily.
Yeah, but it was close in the first quarter, right?
It was I think it was 10-7 at some point. But then at that point, Georgia's like,
they just blew them away.
Bye.
It's like unbelievable.
So Georgia is favored to go. They're favored to go back to the national championship
again
game
next year.
Yeah.
They lose a bunch of players, though. Right?
They do. They're losing one of their best defensive players. They lose Stetson Bennett. I think they're losing their main running back, Robinson. Because I believe, no, actually, no, they're not. I was thinking of another Robinson, but I don't know. I don't think I'd pick Georgia to go back. I don't. I think Alabama may have a shot. USC, I think, have an outside chance. But this game was, TCU did not look, ready to be there. And Georgia just looked like the more prepared team. And I just don't think TCU could have done anything different, and they would have beaten this team. Georgia just outmatched them at every phase of the game. So I think their first punt came in the beginning of the second half. They didn't punt for one straight half. So, yikes. Nothing to wait. TCU made the national championship, beat Michigan. That defense, the Michigan defense, averaged 5 points in the second half.
They should be
30.
Be happy with this season, but I'm sure they feel bad about that score. Really bad.
You think Max Duggan will get drafted in this draft?
Maybe. I don't know. There's a lot of good quarterbacks, so we'll see.
I think there's like 3. Will Levis from Kentucky, Bryce Young from Alabama, and C.J. Stroud from Ohio State. I don't know if you would put Max Duggan in the category of those 3. No. Bryce Young is the best one there. Will Levis.
No, but I'm saying later round, maybe.
He could be a fifth round. Yeah.
5th, 6th round.
But what a game. If you're a Georgia fan, I think even you got bored in the middle of that game. Like,
I know. Yeah.
Can we stop scoring, please? But regardless.
I fell asleep.
All right, let's move on to our next topic. We're talking about the firing of some coaches here. Cliff Kingsbury, Lovie Smith both got canned, I believe, yesterday. Jim Harbaugh getting talked to with the Denver Broncos. Sean Payton, he got requested to be spoken to with the Denver Broncos, and I forgot the other team he was asked to, be interviewed by. But let's start with the first one. Cliff Kingsbury, are you surprised he got fired?
A little bit. I mean, they signed him to a pretty. Didn't he have quite a long deal?
He's getting paid by the Arizona Cardinals until 2027.
Yeah.
So he's there. He's getting paid for them by another.
I don't know
4 or 5
why.
years.
Why did they fire him? I don't know. Maybe it's Kyler Murray is whispering in the owner's ear.
Could be
on that one. Which, if he was and the owner listened, I think that was a mistake. So I don't think Kingsbury's that bad. Actually, I mean, look at last year. Halfway through the season, he was undefeated. And then things kind of just fell apart. I don't know, right. Injuries and things like that. So I think I think he's pretty talented. I'm a little surprised he got fired.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think he'll want to coach again this year?
Oh yeah.
Who do you think will sign him?
I'm not sure he'll be a head coach. Maybe he'll be a coordinator or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you'd probably say, what, the Patriots?
Maybe. I wouldn't mind him being their coordinator. He's a pretty good offensive mind.
Maybe. Let's go with the next one. Lovie Smith, surprised he got fired.
I'm not surprised, actually.
Really?
He only won 3 games, right? I mean, he's an older guy, too. So they may think, you know what? We're still in a kind of a rebuilding mode. We should go with somebody younger. I don't think he's a bad coach, though. I mean, he was a coach for the Bears for a long time, right? And he had some good seasons with them. He's a stand-up guy, quality guy, well-respected, and he just had a tough season. I think they were in a lot of those games. They just couldn't seem to win.
Almost beat the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Almost beat the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Do you think he'll get hired this year?
He'll get hired as a coordinator, probably.
Coordinator?
Yeah. I don't think he's going to be another head. I don't think he'll be a head coach again.
Jim Harbaugh. Will he get signed to an NFL team this year?
I think there'll be a lot that want him. I think it'll be hard to land him.
Okay.
I think
so is that a no?
I think he'll wind up back at Michigan.
Okay, that's interesting. And Sean Payton, will he come back coaching in the NFL?
I heard that he may go back to the Saints, and that Brady may go there. That's what they were talking
Rex
about.
Ryan made that, made that point.
Yeah. Rex Ryan didn't think he would go to the Broncos, and I kind of agreed with him.
Yeah.
Because the Broncos, they're going to have a long time before they can draft anybody.
Yeah.
They gave up all their picks for Russell Wilson. And Russell Wilson played a little better after they fired Hackett. But still, there was a small sample. He might still be not very good. So I don't think Sean Payton's going there. Maybe he would go to the Rams if McVay stepped aside.
I think that would be a good idea, actually. Yeah. If McVay steps aside, I think that'd be a really good choice. This is a rumor. I don't think this is true. If the Dolphins would have missed the playoffs, there was a rumor that Mike McDaniel would get fired. Do you think McDaniel could get fired?
Now that they made the playoffs, probably not.
Okay. But you think there might have been a chance if they missed the playoffs?
Yes.
Woo! Why do you think that?
Because he lost all those games in a row. I mean, they were 8-3, and then he lost every game until the last one, and he only won that one by 9-6.
11-6.
11. Well, the last 2 points, right, were the Jets trying to lateral it. They lateral it all the way back out of their own end zone. Come on. I mean, they could only score 9 points legitimately against the Jets. I don't know. That guy,
that game was terrible.
That was a terrible game.
Unwatchable.
Unwatchable game. So, I don't know. That guy, I think that it's interesting. They played the Bills pretty competitively in the last game they played them, right? It was a very cold game. The weather was tough, and the Dolphins looked pretty good. I mean, that was a close game. So whether they can repeat that or not remains to be seen, but I'd be surprised, actually. They did. I think the Bills are going to smoke them. That's my
agree.
prediction.
I agree. Bills are going to absolutely crush them, especially because Tua isn't even cleared to play yet. He's still dealing with a concussion.
How did Mike McDaniel? How did he become a head coach? Does he ever play football? He doesn't look like someone who ever played any football.
He was, I think he was the offensive play caller for the 49ers. They went to the NFC Championship game. The offense looked pretty good. He got hired. I think
did he ever play football? He doesn't look like he ever was a football player.
He's sort of a scrawny guy.
Yeah.
But you know what? I think he's a pretty smart play caller, truthfully. I think it's a great pickup because look at Tua this year. Tua looked great. And then he had, 2 concussions and 3 head injuries.
Yeah.
And he all of a sudden became, maybe life-threatening brain injury, brain damage potentially. He may not even play another snap in the NFL. Who knows? But when it comes to Cliff Kingsbury,
well, that's where McDaniel kind of mismanaged it at the beginning. When he had the first injury, he should have held him out longer.
Yeah.
That might have made a big difference the rest of the year.
Lovie Smith, I was surprised Lovie Smith got fired, actually. I think they should have given him another chance, honestly, because he didn't particularly coach horrible. It's just that it's the Texans. The Texans haven't been good since 2018 with Deshaun Watson. Yeah. And that was only for 2-3 years.
You think the Browns are happy that they did all they did to get Deshaun Watson? No. He doesn't look good.
No, he looks rusty. Yeah. He looks very, very rusty.
How long are you going to be rusty? He played 4 or 5 games, right?
Yeah.
You'd think by the end the rust would be off.
Maybe.
I mean, the Browns' uniforms look like rust. Maybe that's their problem. Everybody's rusty on that team.
Hey, Amari Cooper played pretty well. Nick Chubb was good, but Lovie Smith, I was surprised.
I think that Deshaun Watson's a bust. I really do. He proved it in this last
coming
game.
back, he did not
look good. And they paid him a fortune.
Yeah.
Right? To put up with all his BS, too, all the crap that he did, to suffer through all that.
Yeah.
They would have been better off hanging on to Baker Mayfield.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that one, Chief. Yeah. But Lovie Smith, I was surprised because I think he actually, kept some games close, almost beat the Cowboys. It's kind of funny. You said Lovie Smith was a coach for the Bears. He gifted the Bears one last gift before he got pieced out of Houston by giving them the #1 overall draft pick for this draft. So
maybe that's why they fired him. Because he won the game.
Maybe
if he'd lost, they would have kept him.
Maybe. Yeah. Cliff Kingsbury, I was not that surprised, actually. The offense looked bad.
That's an interesting observation that he gave his former team the first-round pick.
Yeah, maybe.
By beating them. Did Fields play in that game? Justin Fields? Did he play?
No,
he didn't play.
Nathan Peterman and
you're right.
Tim Boyle.
That Nathan Peterman, how the hell he's still in the NFL is beyond me. Anytime he's gotten in there, he's
always gotten benched.
He's thrown a lot of completions to the other team, mostly, and then they bench him, and they benched him in this game too, right?
Yeah.
Even though he did okay,
he didn't play that bad. And they brought in Tim Boyle, and one of his first throws is an interception. So
yeah,
I don't know. The Bears have issues. Cliff Kingsbury, I was a little bit surprised by actually. It's just I wasn't surprised by Cliff Kingsbury. The offense just wasn't good. Kyler Murray was afraid to run. The offense just this Cardinals were a mess. And then Jim Harbaugh. I think the way I see this, Jim Harbaugh will go to the Broncos. I think there's more value in staying in Michigan, but I think he'll actually come back to the NFL because actually the Broncos I think are a great fit.
Why would he go to the Broncos?
Because they need a better offensive line and an improved run game. That's what Jim Harbaugh does really well. Michigan had a great run game and a good offensive line. That's what, and then Russell Wilson could maybe succeed. Who knows? And then Sean Payton, I think he'll come. I think
he's going to come back. Maybe not this year though. Maybe he'll wait one more year, but I do think he'll come back.
It's just a question of which team.
Yeah, I don't think he's going back to the Saints though. Do you? I mean, that seems a little bit of a long shot.
No.
Why would he leave him in the first place if he was going to go back?
Right. You know? It's just a question of where will he go? Because he's not going to be a coordinator. That's the first thing.
I would say the Rams.
He's going to be a coach. Rams may be a great fit for him. And you know what? By the end of we may come back to this coaching carousel again, and maybe more coaches get fired. Maybe more coaches have gotten fired. I just haven't checked Twitter yet for the breaking news. But I don't know. I'm going to say Sean Payton. I think he'll come back. Jim Harbaugh. I think he comes back. Lovie Smith, I'm surprised.
You think he comes back to the NFL?
NFL, yeah. I think. I mean, I was surprised. I was surprised Lovie Smith got fired. I think they might have given him one. They should have given him one more year because the Texans kept some games close. It's just the Texans are a horrible job right now. A horrible job. What coach in history? I don't even think Bill Belichick could make that team into a potential playoff. And not even that. Not even. I don't even think Bill Belichick could make that team into a competitor for the top of their division. The Houston Texans job is so bad. You need a quarterback. You need a better offensive line. You need more wide receivers. Your defense needs a lot of work. The entire team needs a lot of work.
What about Davis Mills? Do you think he's a keeper?
No, I don't think so. He had a great rookie year. Second best rookie. And then just fell off a cliff. I don't know. It's the Texans.
He was in there at the end this season, right?
Yeah. He got benched, and then I think they brought him back. Yeah. So, because, was it Jeff Driscoll, I think, was a quarterback in some of those games. He wasn't particularly great, but I'm a little surprised by this. But I think it is time for the final regular season recap we will do. And I want to make sure I have everything up right now. So bear with me because we might see Aaron Rodgers again.
Where do you stand
which we will.
What you want to do
so let me just get rid of that. Here we go. I think I might need to bring it up. So while we talk about it, I'll talk about it while I bring this up. I might have yours, actually. Let's just figure this out while we're here. No, we won't. So I got to bring that up. Bear with me right now while I do this. But here, I want to talk about this first. We're going to go to our double screen for right now. What do you think? Honestly, what do you think?
About?
Steph Curry's coming back. I'll get rid of the top part so we can focus on this. Steph Curry's coming back this game against, I forget who they're playing this week, but he's coming back. Do you think this is a way for the Warriors to revitalize their season? Because right now, surprisingly, they haven't played particularly great. They're still the 6th seed. So do you think Steph Curry coming back, he might be on a minutes restriction right now. Do you think Steph Curry could actually revitalize this Warriors team? Because they haven't played particularly well when he was away, especially on the road.
I do.
Well, so do you think, right now they're the 6th seed. If Curry stays healthy the rest of the year, where do you think the Warriors could end up when it's all said and done?
They might be a little higher. Maybe not too much. Maybe 2 spots. Maybe they move up to the 4.
4 seed.
Yeah.
It's just a question of, can Klay Thompson stays the number 2? Because Jordan Poole, I think, is shooting like 31% from 3. As your replacement when Curry and Klay Thompson retire, Jordan Poole would be the next guy there. You can't have your number 2 guy shooting 31% from 3. The Warriors are a 3-point shooting team.
Stephen Curry comes back, then they got the Splash Brothers out there. So I think this year they could move up in the standings.
You would hope so.
Yeah. I mean, they have the same pieces they had last year, and they won the championship. So
but their road record is horrible.
Yeah, well, I don't know why that is. So
it's weird. I mean, I can't explain that to you. The Warriors just don't play as a unit when they're on the road for whatever reason. But who knows? No. I think I have it up now. We'll bring it up right now. Let's begin with the picks.
Okay.
You will start for us.
Okay.
Take it away.
Kansas City, that game, what a boring game that was. I mean, the Kansas City just dominated that game. So I don't think Jared Stidham's got much chance to be the starting quarterback for the Raiders next year. I think that will probably be Tom Brady. Jacksonville, that was a very good game, but I would say Trevor Lawrence was lucky that the defense played so well for the Jaguars in the second half. They're the reason that they won that game, not him. He made some mistakes in that game, and I think he was a little too amped up in that game. I felt a little bad for the Titans. They started out really well, and You know, they were playing with a quarterback who's been in like 7 or 8 different teams at the end. He didn't do that badly, actually.
Joshua Dobbs,
I think he at least earned a backup spot for a quarterback next year somewhere.
The Titans fire their OC too, which is something.
Then the Colts, you know, I never get that right. So that didn't surprise me. And the Vikings, I think the Giants have a chance to beat the Vikings in the playoffs. So we'll see. I think they could. I mean, they only lost by a 61-yard field goal in the game they played, and that was in.
That's true.
That was at the Vikings too. So we'll see. The Bengals won.
Bengals Ravens.
Yeah, and they covered. Jets, I picked them to beat the Dolphins just because I hate the Dolphins, and I was hoping that the Patriots could back into the playoffs, but didn't happen. Carolina, you know, Darnold is looking better, right? I think they'll give him another shot next year probably. And that team, they got beat by Tom Brady. That's what kept them out of the playoffs. And they wound up with a 8-9 record.
Yeah.
And I think they probably give that guy that stepped in as the interim coach, they ought to give him a chance to be the head coach next year. Patriots
7-10. Carolina had 7-10 record.
Was it?
Yeah. End of the year with 7-10.
I thought it was 8-9.
7-10.
Oh well. I was very disappointed by the Patriots-Bills game. What a bummer. And the Bucks, I thought the Bucks would beat. They would have beat the Falcons if they left Brady in there. They pulled him. I was happy that the Steelers beat the Browns. And Tomlin wound up with a winning record, right? Which he's always had one, which is pretty amazing for so many years. I lost out on the Seahawks against the L.A. I like Geno Smith, and I like to see the Seahawks do well in the playoffs, but I'm afraid they're going up against San Francisco, right?
Yeah.
They're going to get trounced. That's my prediction on that one. The Broncos, I don't know why I picked them to beat the Chargers, but they did, right? They won the game. What happened?
Broncos, yeah.
The Broncos, just the point spread.
Yeah, the point spread, no.
Yeah. Giants and the Eagles. No, they didn't play Saquon Barkley or Daniel Jones, so I got that one right. San Francisco, yeah. Missed out on the point spread on that one, but I think San Francisco got a chance to get to the Super Bowl, even though it's Brock Purdy as their quarterback. They seem to be, he's a good game manager, and he doesn't turn the ball over, manages to throw a couple touchdowns every game. So who do they play in? They start off with the
49ers?
The 49ers and the Seahawks,
49ers,
right?
Seahawks, yeah.
Yeah. So they should win that first game pretty easily, I think. Dallas and Washington, Washington playing their rookie quarterback, right?
Yeah.
He was a pretty high pick, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, he did okay, right?
He beat the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Dak Prescott, I think he had under 40% completion percentage in this game.
Yeah.
Another interception, another pick six.
Yeah. And then Green Bay, we talked about that game. Aaron Rodgers dumped it.
Yeah.
And I was surprised. So I wound up 146, 109, and 2.
Yeah.
Over 50%. Didn't get the 50% on the spreads, but I'm learning that. Maybe I'll do better next year.
All right, let's get on to my picks. We ended the year pretty good. Win-loss record of 64.59%, 165-90-2. My spread record, 52.72%, 132, 118, and 7. Let's get into it. I'll just quickly go over some of the games that I was shocked by. Like you said, the Chiefs-Raiders game, that was a horrible game. Chiefs looked unstoppable in that game, and Jarrett Stidham, how does it make Brock Purdy look in the game against the Raiders? Jarrett Stidham outthrew Brock Purdy, and they went all the way to overtime with the 49ers. What does it say about the 49ers offense?
I don't know. They just didn't show up.
That's beside the point. Jaguars, I thought they would win by more than they did. It looked pretty embarrassing most of the game for the Jaguars, so barely able to eke out the win, but they are headed to the playoffs, which is good for Trevor Lawrence. The Jaguars in their franchise history has never made a Super Bowl. Never won a Super Bowl. So, interesting to see what they do. Let's see the next one. Colts
It was the Colts that beat Houston, not the.
No, Houston beat the Colts.
Oh,
what is it?
Oh, Houston beat the Colts, right? But
Yeah.
I thought you said Houston beat Chicago.
No.
To get him the first.
They gave him the first overall pick.
I see what you're saying.
The Vikings 5.5 point spread against the crippled Bears. What are you gonna say about that? They're playing a team that went 3-14. There's no surprise there. We'll see how they do at 4:00 against the Giants. This playoff run. I think there's a serious shot the Giants could win that game. Anthony Brown, lowest QBR this week, 6.10, scale of 0 to 100. Joe Burrow able to do his time, do his work, and you know what? Maybe headed to another Super Bowl. Who knows? They play the Ravens again this coming week. Bengals are going to crush them. Even if Lamar comes back, and it looks like Lamar will come back, I just think the Bengals are just going to, they're going to play better. The next one. Gotta love it. I was a little bit nervous because I saw 9-6, and then the Jets had to give up a safety on the last play, and I was able to cover and take the win. That game was unwatchable. Truly unwatchable. So, I mean, I'm not that surprised that the Jets lost. They were putting Joe Flacco. He didn't play particularly great or even particularly good. The next game, Panthers-Saints.
You think Joe Flacco will be back next year?
No, Joe Flacco's going to retire at the end of the year. Watch.
You think so?
Yeah. I don't think anyone's going to be willing enough to pay him. Unless the Jets are going to repay him as their third string. But I don't even know about that. The Saints, I'm a little bit surprised. The team just didn't show up. Andy Dalton just didn't show up, which I guess that's the way he's been all year. Not showing up in some, I wouldn't call it a key game, but showing up really at all. I called it. I was right. The Bills able to beat the Patriots, crush them, but it's crazy because it's sort of ironic.
Kickoff returns. Those are the killer.
Yeah, it was only the special teams that was the problem. Surprisingly, special teams was the problem for the Patriots. But you know what? That could all be fixed when you actually put an actual special teams coordinator in his actual job and not have your QB coach as have your special teams coordinator as your QB coach. Patriots need the staff need to be moved around a lot. Next one, I thought same as you. I thought they would put Brady in there enough. They took him out when it was 10-10 and
He was
ended up being.
I think he was pissed. They took him out.
He was moping around, not looking too happy.
It's the first season he ever had a losing season.
But he did break the records, attempts and completions, but that doesn't look great when you're 8-9. But it is what it is. Brady took him out. They took him out at 10-10 apiece. They ended up losing 30-17. So who knows about what's going to be in the next game against the Cowboys Bucks. We'll talk about that on Friday. The next one, Steelers. Kenny Pickett looked good. Deshaun Watson looked terrible. They almost made the playoffs. Almost. Very, very close. They just needed the Patriots to beat the Bills, which, like I said, special teams was the point difference in that game. Baker Mayfield did not play good. He had a 10.1 QBR, second last, ranked 31st. He had a bad game. Did not have a great game. I think he's a backup. He still thinks he's a starter. I don't see it. I don't see it at all. He's just not. I mean, he looked okay under Sean McVay's offense. If Sean McVay's gone, regardless of who's the head coach of any team Baker Mayfield goes to, and maybe a very, very low percentage chance, except if someone gets hurt, if Baker Mayfield is a starter on any team, I don't think he'll be successful. I'm going to stay on that. He has not been consistent. And everyone who came into the comments section and said, well, let's take a look at that. Baker Mayfield just beat the Raiders. How do you still feel about that now? I feel pretty good about my my statement where I said he was extremely lucky to still get a starting job. We'll see this upcoming season what happens. Chargers, I get a push for that one. I'm lucky. They kept it close. They won 31-28. I was able to cover or push the 3-point spread, but they did get the loss. Russell Wilson, that offense actually looked good. It did not look anemic. It looked really good. The defense gave up 28 points. Something you need to work on a little bit, but I'm going to keep saying it. I don't think this is a blip. I think this is a trend for Russell Wilson, but we will see when Russell Wilson gets another head coach. We will see. And the Eagles, that was weird. That was a weird game. Jalen Hurts comes back. Davis Webb comes in, only loses to the Eagles with a great defense by 6 points. Congrats to Kenny Golladay, by the way, for having his first touchdown with the Giants. Tremendous catch. Phenomenal catch. Good for him. And the next one, 49ers. I took Brock Purdy to absolutely crush the Cardinals in J.J. Watt's last game. I'm sure he'll have a happy retirement, but I don't know. Brock Purdy in this 49ers team.
2 sacks.
He got 2 sacks in the game, yeah. And it was great. He got taken off the field. Standing ovation. Well-deserved standing ovation. I think this 49ers team could go places, but I think there's some roadblocks that may cause the 49ers to maybe get not blown out of the playoffs, maybe to lose a chance at the Super Bowl. The Cowboys, Dak Prescott had maybe the worst career game he's ever had. I think he had 37% completion percentage. He had another interception, another pick six. Ugly game, but competent coaches, competent teams, competent quarterbacks. The general rule of thumb is if you get blown out and embarrassed in one game, the following game, you win. So that's why, actually, a little spoiler alert, when we talk about it on Friday, the Bucs are going to lose to the Cowboys. Not only that, plus better defense against the crippled offensive line, but that's beside the point. And then the final game, which we talked about, Aaron Rodgers, no excuses. You lost against the 32nd ranked defense. And that wraps up another episode of the Harvey Hour. Next Tuesday will be the last Tuesday that the Harvey Hour will be on. We will move to Mondays 2 weeks from now. Next Tuesday, 1 year anniversary of me and my dad doing the show. But for this episode of the Harvey Hour, this will be the end of it.
Thanks to our subscribers.
Yeah.
We really appreciate it. Hi to Grandpa out there. I know you're watching. Hope you're enjoying the show.
Absolutely.
Thanks to Mom. She's watching too. Grandma.
But for this episode of the Harvey Hour, this will be the end of it. We'll see you 6:30 on Friday. We make all of our playoff predictions, our playoff picks for Super Wild Card Weekend in the NFL. Then we will see you the Tuesday, 1 year anniversary of the Harvey Hour. Me and my dad doing it together. And then the following Monday, that will be the first Monday the Harvey Hour will be on, recapping the divisional game between whoever's in it, Eagles and Chiefs versus whoever. But yeah, for this one, my name is Nathan Harvey. That's my dad, Stephen Harvey. We are the Harvey Hour. We will catch you guys Friday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, right here on YouTube.
Bye-bye.
Introducing video podcasts on Spotify.
Transform your storytelling into a show everyone can watch
or listen to.
Easily upload your video through Anchor, Spotify's free podcast creation tool.
So whether you're showing off a new recipe,
interviewing an exclusive guest,
or uncovering the next mystery,
you can now reach a whole new audience with Spotify.
Podcasting just became more than audio.
Create with Anchor, watch on Spotify.